For the past few months, I've been seeing capris absolutely everywhere, especially in places like Pinterest, and that only means one thing, and that is that they're coming back. If you would have asked me last year if I was going to wear them again ever in my life, I would have said absolutely not. But now that I'm looking at them, I actually quite like them. So let's see if we can make a cute pair of capris using Aiclo for our sewing pattern. Welcome to Aiclo. Hi, my name is Fabiana, and if you're new here, Aiclo is your new favorite AI sewing assistant. You can make professional sewing patterns with Aiclo in just seconds, and as always, you're going to be coming along with me as I show you my inspiration, make the sewing pattern, and sew the final garment. Oh, and I'll also show you the results. So let's get started. Since it's basically spring already, I want to make the pants with a beautiful pastel color fabric. So hopefully I can find a cute pink fabric or a green one, or maybe even yellow. And for the design of the pants, I just want simple capris, nothing too elaborated. So something like the pictures over here. First thing I like to do is just go ahead and go into direct editor access, and immediately this pops up, and it's basically all of the patterns that Aiclo has, and I can choose from a ton of patterns. It's incredible. But as you know, we're going to be making some pants, so let's see what works best for the capri pants that we want to make. I'm thinking flared pants will be the best because I do want them to be a little bit flared right below the knee. So let's go with this one. And as you can see, they do have a waistband, but I won't be using that piece because I'll just be making facings to finish the raw edge of the waist. Okay, so first things first, I'll check on my avatar. I already have mine created, but if you want to create your own, you can just make a new one. You can have more than one, which is really great, and you just have to put like these 4 main body measurements. There are some additional, but they're not necessary. Okay, so now I like going and playing with the color and fabric. They also have some motifs, so let's see if I find something that hopefully matches my inspiration. I think I like these polka dots or the lines. Let's just go ahead and make the polka dots. And I'll probably be using like cotton, so let's choose that. Okay, perfect. And now let's modify the pattern. For the length, I'm going to customize it. As you know, I want it right below the knees. So let's see. Okay, this is too short, for example. So let's make it a little bit longer. A little bit longer. And I think it's too wide on the bottom, so let's shrinken that up. I think I'll leave it a little bit longer, and if I want to trim that off while sewing, I'll just do that. Okay, so that looks good. Let's leave it like that. Okay, and for the fit, I think they look pretty good. Maybe I'd modify them to be a little bit tighter over here on the legs, but I think I won't do that until I try them on, just to see how they fit on me. You know that you could always take off any fabric, but you can't add more fabric to your project, so I always like to keep that in mind. And over here I can see how the pattern is looking like. So we'll have basically front, back, and waistband, and here I can click to see the advanced mode. And here I have a ton more measurements that I can modify, so let's see. In here you can just go ahead and modify the pattern however you'd like. So now they're looking a lot more like my inspiration. As you can see, they're a little bit tighter. Okay, so now I think it is ready. So we can go ahead and save the project like this. And another cool thing I wanted to show you is that over here you have a textile calculator, and you can see how much fabric you'll need for your project. You just add the width of your roll in centimeters. And for example, I would need these for these pants. And here where it says PDF, you can download a tech pack. And it's pretty cool. You get a lot of information for your pattern layout, and even some general instructions on how you have to assemble this specific garment. You could obviously sew it however you'd like, but it's great to have an idea of what's the sequence you have to follow. And now I can just go ahead and download my pattern, and it'll be ready for printing. I'm going to be choosing a PDF format in size US letter so I can print it at home, and you could also modify the seam allowances for your pattern here. For the hem, I have a 2 centimeter seam allowance, but I do want to make a thicker hem, so let's make it a 5 centimeter seam allowance, and I'll show you why when we're sewing it. And here's my pattern. At first we have a test box, so you first print out this paper and measure out, so it measures 10 by 10 centimeters, and once you check that it does measure that, you can just go ahead and print the rest of your pattern. So I'm gonna go ahead, print it out, and I'll be back. spring is almost here, so it's a perfect time to start sewing my own spring wardrobe. For this first project, I'll be using this cute pink fabric. I think this color has spring written all over it, so it's perfect for what I have in mind. Okay, so I have the pattern over here. I fully printed it out. It was super simple, and as you know, I printed it in a US letter format. Now I'm just going to assemble the entire pattern and cut out the pattern pieces so we can cut the fabric. Here I have my pattern all cut out, and as you know, it comes with 3 pieces. The belt, which we're not going to be using, so I can take that off from here, the front, and the back. I really love that these patterns also come with notches, so they help you line up when you're sewing, which is great. And now we can just go ahead and cut these pattern pieces. Each we're going to be cutting 2 of them. So 2 fronts and 2 backs. Okay, so as you can see, I have a little bit of fabric left over, and that's because I'm going to be cutting the facings for the waistline. As you might remember, I told you I'm not using the waistband or the belt panel piece because I'm going to be attaching some facings. So I'm going to cut them over here. I think I'm going to cut them about 5 or 6 centimeters wide. Let me see what works best. I think right below the dart point is a good place, so I'm going to trace that out. Okay, so I have all of my pieces cut out, and it's finally time to sew. And currently my plan of action, or plan to sew this garment, will be closing the darts for both the facings and the main panels. And then I'm going to attach the invisible zipper. I think I'm going to attach it on one of the sides, maybe the center back, I'm not sure yet, but I think it'll look nicer on the side. Let's just see how it goes and how it looks. Here I have all of my facings. These are the back and the front. And now I'm just going to sew them on the center front and center back, which is right here and right here. And I'm going to do the same with the front and back panels. Here I have both of my front panels, so I'm just going to stitch them on the center front. And I'll do the same with the back. Okay, so now that that's done, it's time to add the zipper. I decided I'm going to add it to the left side. So here I have my back panel, I think. Yeah, it's the back panel. And I'm going to mark about 20 centimeters from the waist down. I have a 30 centimeter zipper, so I'll just trim off whatever excess I have on the top. So it'll go from here all the way here. And I'll do that same thing on one of the sides of the front, which would be this one. I just wanted to remind you guys that if you ever want to try out any of the patterns on Aiclo, you actually have the first 2 downloads for free, so you can make patterns, try them out, and just see how it works. And then if you like it, you can definitely subscribe. I promise you're going to love it. And Aiclo's having incredible discounts right now, 40% off all subscription plans. Plus, if you use code SEW20, you get an extra 20%, which means 60% off your plan. I don't know about you, but that sounds like an amazing deal. So if I were you, I would check that out immediately because it's not going to last forever. Okay, so back to what I was doing. I'm going to attach it to either side first. That really doesn't matter. I just realized I have not finished the raw edge of the sides, but that's okay. I'll do that once I'm done with the zipper. Now that that's all pinned in place, I'm just going to switch my presser foot to a zipper foot and sew this side and then the other one. So I'll be back once I'm done with that. Okay, so thankfully the zipper ended up being perfect, and I also closed that side and zigzag stitched the raw edges. So I'm just going to press that seam open so that then, and after that I can just go ahead and close the other side. I love it. It's already taking shape and it's looking so cute. So let's just close the sides. I honestly think some people think that making pants is so hard, but it's quite simple. And obviously depending on the complexity of the design, but pants are quite quick to finish. They're not this long elaborated process. So if you're beginning, just don't be scared about trying some pants. Okay, so I pinned the side, as you can see over here, and I'm also going to pin the inseam. I just have to make sure that both of these seams align. I can just go ahead to the sewing machine and sew that. When you're sewing an inseam, just make sure that you start right between those center front and center back seams. Just in case the fabric moves, you don't want that seam to move. So I wanted to update you guys on how I was doing with the pants. I'm pretty much almost done, which is really exciting. And as I told you, pants are really quick and easy to make. Now I just need to attach the facing on the waist and just hem the pants. I do think they're a little bit too long, but as you might remember, I left a 5 centimeter like seam allowance for the hem, because with linen, I just love the look of a thicker hem. So let's just see how that looks. And if it's still too long, I might cut it up a little bit more. But honestly, I think it's going to be fine. Here I have my 2 facings for the waist. And now I just have to sew them on the side that's sewn without the zipper, and the side that has the zipper needs to be open. So let me check what side that would be. Okay, so now that I've checked, I know that I have to sew only this side. That's ready now. I'm just going to fold that seam allowance to one of the sides, and then I'll just press it properly. And now I'm just going to pin it right sides together with the pants. The side, okay. And here it's really important that I make sure that I line up the darts and the seams. That just makes it look a lot nicer and well made. Okay, so it matched up perfectly. I'm going to show you a little bit of a close-up so you can see better. So here are how they look right now. And when I open them up, you can see the facing. And now I'm just going to sew, starting from here, up, around the waist, and up to the other side. I also zigzag stitched the raw edge. I wouldn't necessarily do this if I was using another fabric, but linen does fray a lot, so I think it's safer to do that. And as you might remember, I have a longer zipper tape over here, so I'm just going to cut that off. That's basically done. I'm just going to understitch the seam allowance towards the facing so the facing doesn't flip over to the outside of the pants, but I'm first going to press it. I think that the results speak for themselves. I have never made a pair of pants that fit me so well. I'm still so in shock knowing that this was first fit on my digital avatar, and it looks even better on me. Just blows my mind. I completely recommend trying out this pattern, and in all honesty, I thought that the length of the capris was going to bother me, but it doesn't at all. I think it looks very nice, very feminine, and they're even better than my inspiration, so I could not be happier. What do you guys think?